remains tragically high after surgical and hormonal treatment. And the mental health problems associated with gender dysphoria remain extremely damaging, even in particularly, except that's inarticulate.
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
Well, you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing. He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
There's some whores in this house. Wet ass B-word.
Round the nation. Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. Oh, and I've got my sidebar up. Oops. It's Wednesday. Welcome to the show. We're going to have some fun. There will be dunking on Ben Shapiro, of course. We're going to talk about that. We have Biden's mysterious powers to create war in Ukraine. Odd. Okay. But the magical, all-powerful Biden, who also can't get any policy passed. Fun. We got MAGA annoying people at airports. big surprise. We have Texas. We have a stunt that is not going to surprise anybody from Texas, literally trolling the country. And then, we're going to talk about Joe Manchin. So interesting stuff here today. So, look, Biden must be a wizard, the greatest wizard, the best wizard. See, he puts on his robe and his wizard hat, and he makes gas prices go up with the magic wand, and that's what happens. All right, anyway, like I said, we're going to have some fun here. So please, if you haven't already, like and share the stream. Very, very important that you do so. Again, helps us out greatly. So, please do that. It's real easy to do. Like, share. It's 2 buttons. It's 2 clicks, maybe 3 clicks at most. So again, that's the way to help me. A pretty big way to help me. Another way, of course, is super chats, and bits, subs, things like that, or becoming a member. All those are great ways to help us. All right. Anyway, with that said, let's go into Biden's magical powers. Let's do it. One Fox News host has taken absurdity to a new level by suggesting that it wasn't the work of Vladimir Putin that orchestrated the invasion of Ukraine, despite the fact that Vladimir Putin is literally the leader of Russia. No. It wasn't Vladimir Putin's fault that he invaded Ukraine. No, it was Joe Biden's fault.
Seeing all the news about Ukraine and knowing the laptop and all the things you've seen and heard over the last couple of years, what are your thoughts on the current situation?
It's hard to tell. I mean, it's last time Ukraine was in this kind of, or close to this kind of situation, Joe Biden was in charge. And now he's in charge again. And last time, Joe, or at least Hunter, profited greatly off of his dad's direct involvement with Ukraine. I think this time around, Joe needs a distraction more than he needs money.
Do you think this was engineered as a distraction, or do you just think this has kind of happened because of Vlad and this rush to war?
Well, I would hate to think that the Ukrainian people would have to suffer the way they're suffering now because Joe needed a distraction.
Yeah.
So I would hate to think that.
Yeah, I would really hate to think that somehow the president of the United States engineered an invasion spearheaded by a foreign country, the leader of a foreign country, into another foreign country, all as a distraction to stop us from talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. I would really hate for that narrative to be out there. Oh, oops, is that narrative out there? Oh, shoot. Shucks. I mean, come on, dude. Really? 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 Wow. Are you, again, literally suggesting that Joe Biden is powerful enough to somehow engineer this entire situation in order to distract from, again, Hunter's laptop that has nothing to do with the Biden administration? This may be one of the, and again, by the way, this was couched in what? I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking you what you think, random computer repair guy, about foreign policy. Again, you would think, oh, what kind of insane question is that? But no. It's a leading question. That's all it is. So he's trying to be like, oh, well, what if this entire thing is a distraction on something that you know nothing about? Again, that's the only reason he would ask such a question. And again, this may be the most insane conspiracy theory floated this week. And I say this week because next week you never know what they're going to have. But literally, they're literally trying to say that that Joe Biden is that powerful. I mean, I guess it's sort of like Schrodinger's Joe Biden, right? On the one hand, he's mentally deficient, got, what is it, dementia, he's sleepy all the time, and he doesn't really run anything, so it's Kamala Harris. But then, on the other hand, I know, scary black woman, right? Running things, a nightmare for conservatives. But on the other hand, he is somehow with it and crafty enough to engineer an entire war by perpetrated by other countries, right? In order to distract from the laptop. This is, again, they can't help but contradict themselves all the time. All the time, every single day. Absolute nuttery. Nuttery. Now, again, Joe Biden, let me tell you what Joe Biden has said about the laptop. Nothing. Nada. And as far as administration goes, Hunter Biden is not part of the administration. He has not been named as an advisor. He has no political position, never had a political position. And so, look, and here's the thing. Yes, it has no impact what Hunter Biden did. Now, that said, is it an issue that Hunter Biden has been a very naughty boy and didn't pay his taxes? Yeah, it is an issue. And guess what? I think it's good that we know that, hey, at least this investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes has forced him to pay his taxes. Good. And by the way, if he got money from other countries, okay. Yes, there are people that get money from other countries. Now, again, does he have any political input into the Biden administration? No. Now, here's the thing. Jared Kushner worked in the White House, okay, and had direct policy influences on his father-in-law, Donald Trump. When it came to the Middle East, when it came to Mohammed bin Salman, which we know from documentation that Jared Kushner received billions of dollars, $2 billion in investment from Mohammed bin Salman. And he was one of the most ardent defenders, Kushner was, of the charges against Mohammed bin Salman when it came to the murder of a Washington Post journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. And then, of course, you go to the issue with Ivanka Trump. Ivanka Trump used her father and him being president and was even in the room during negotiations with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Okay? And she used that access to guess what? Get what? Get what? Special deals when it came to trade. Come on. Come on. Now, here's the thing. If Joe Biden had crafted policy as president, specifically aimed to enrich his son, well, then that would be a big conflict of interest, but we don't have any evidence of that. We don't have any evidence of that at all. And speaking of the lack of evidence, right? Now, we're ironically, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show a video here of the same guy who was talking to Jesse Waters, basically admitting that a lot of the stuff that you're hearing about this laptop wasn't actually in the laptop.
That's what caused me to do a deep dive in the laptop once it became my property. During that time, I saw a lot of photos. I did not see a lot of photos that are being reported to be seen. Now, with that said, I do know that there have been multiple attempts over the past year and a half to insert questionable material into the laptop, as in not physically, but passing it off this misinformation or disinformation as coming from the laptop. And that is a major concern of mine, because I have fought tooth and nail to protect the integrity of this drive, and to jeopardize that is going to mean that everything that I sacrifice will be for nothing.
I'm not exactly sure what you sacrificed other than your dignity for wearing that hat, but we're not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Again, on his TV, or on the TV wearing that hat. Okay, no, let's not. No. Okay, let's not do that. But look, going on to the substance, go to substance, okay? I'm not surprised at all that people wanted to spread disinformation about what's on the laptop. I mean, in fact, according to experts who have examined the contents of this alleged hard drive, there's a lot of things there that could not be verified. Now, there are some things that could be verified, emails and things like that, relatively standard stuff, right? Business meetings, notes, emails, there's the company in China that he did business with that he got paid for. And then there's a company in Ukraine that he was on the board of. Again, he didn't belong on the board. What does he know about oil and gas? Not really anything. Nonetheless, he was on these boards. Okay, right? All of that's fairly standard stuff and doesn't implicate the Biden administration at all in any of this stuff. Okay? So now, let's get into more detail. Per the Washington Post, who wrote about this, the experts found the data had been repeatedly accessed and copied by people other than Hunter Biden over nearly 3 years. Our report explained, with those we spoke with being unable to reach definitive conclusions about the contents as a whole, including whether all of it originated from a single computer or could have been assembled from files from multiple computers and put on the portable drive. Okay. An expert also found records on the drive that indicated that somebody may have accessed the drive from a West Coast location on October 2020. Little more than a week after the first New York Post stories on Hunter Biden's laptop appeared. Over the next few days, somebody created 3 additional folders on the drive titled Mail, Salacious Pics Package, because of course, right, if you have salacious pics on your computer, you would obviously create an entire folder that says, look, here are my salacious pics, everybody. Right here on my computer. If you access my computer, they're right there. Right. That's because normal people do that. And then the big guy file. Yeah. Okay. Now, again, big guy might be a reference to Joe Biden. But I don't know. I don't know who the big guy is. I mean, now, and look, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's real on this. Nobody knows if the drive itself is real or any of the stuff that's in it is real. And that's why the FBI is looking into it, okay? So now, one expert likened it to a crime scene that was littered with fast food wrappers, thanks to the first so-called police who arrived on the scene. Which, by the way, the people that are on the scene, there weren't police. Now, that's meant as an indictment, but it's also generous, writes the Washington Post. The first people on the scene weren't police. In this case, they were, to extend the analogy, people aiming to obtain an indictment against a particular person. Now, I think that's the point. Now, look, are there questions about Hunter Biden's business dealings? Sure. Is it related to, whether he could have did some fraud, tax fraud, money laundering? Possible. Or some sort of financial crimes? Now, if that happens to be true, if they do find sufficient actual evidence against Hunter Biden in that, hey, I got no problem with coming after him and with, actually having him face some sort of consequences for this. Oh, of course I'm not against that. No, if you do financial crimes, you should be punished. And that extends, of course, to anybody doing financial crimes, whether it be Trump or, Ivanka, Jared, Kushner, Steve Bannon, anybody. It doesn't really matter who it is or what party they're from. If you do financial crimes, you should get in trouble for financial crimes. Now, does that often happen in Washington? Unfortunately not. That said, this has nothing to do with Joe Biden. This has nothing to do with the Biden administration and their policies towards Ukraine. Okay? Now, that said, all the salacious stuff, likely nonsense, added by bad actors in order to try to make him look bad, and by extension, really, his dad. But really, there's one message here that stands out. And that was, to me, Joe Biden telling his son in a message, and by the way, Hunter Biden has been dealing with addiction. Doesn't matter. Joe said that he loves him anyway. that actually makes me like Joe Biden a little bit more. It softens this old hardened heart. Because at least at the very least, it seems like Joe Biden, for all his issues, loving dad, a good supportive father. And again, that actually makes him look a lot better. But it makes the right wing look even worse. People like Jesse Waters, who are just a prick. I mean, there's really no other good explanation for, Jesse Waters and Fox hosts and their ridiculous conspiracy theories. All right. Oh. Moving on. There's nothing more annoying than going to the airport. You got to travel, and travel sucks enough as it is, especially with the COVID restrictions that were in place for some time. But even before then, taking off your shoes, you going through the metal detectors, going through the lines, waiting in lines, paying for luggage fees. Not to mention, of course, layovers, if you're unlucky enough to have that. Fees, all that stuff. But if it wasn't bad enough, now you got MAGA chuds. MAGA chuds, who, by the way, throughout the entire pandemic, would melt down over masks, mask requirements, or just melt down for no reason, because that's what they do. Well, now they have found a new way to make going to the airport even more annoying. In fact, according to the Daily Beast, this is Will Sommer, a new trend is Republicans tricking airport staffers into paging fake passengers with names that sound like right-wing memes. For example, "Let's go Brandon." Now, again, I'm speaking my experience as somebody who is a passenger, right? But apparently being a staffer, also not fun when you're dealing with these people. And again, you go back to the mask example, how they would resist wearing masks and would cause all sorts of, scenes, ruckus, and hold up lines. And and so that's what we have going on. Sommer says that this new trend speaks to the prankishness of the American right now. So now, why did this matter? Well, let me get to a little bit more of a meta point. But one prominent airport prankster, says Sommer, said, quote, he has this little snicker at the Cinnabon. But these videos rack up tens of thousands of views. So let's get to the meta point here. Is that not sad, for one? Instead of having discussions on policy, making people's lives better through policy means, here you instead have people essentially trolling airport workers, airport staff, right? And so you get these people that are like, why don't you page in Sleepy Joe? We're paging Sleepy Joe. And then they film it and get tens of thousands of views. This is not a new phenomenon, obviously, but it's just another in a long line of people that are just being stupid for clout. And in this case, right-wingers being stupid for clout. I mean, there's so much good that people could do with the reach of social media these days. And this is what happens. And again, those things get tens of thousands of views. You have a substantive discussion, for example, on anti-trans legislation, of which there's about 170 bills that have been filed in the last 2 months to strip trans people of rights, to kick them out of school sports, to, kick them out of bathrooms. We don't talk about that, though. No. Nobody cares about that. A few hundred views, few thousand views on different videos. But these right-wing trolls, Tens of thousands of views. Isn't it amazing? It's maddening, actually, because you have trolls that are just getting all this attention for being the most low-effort idiots imaginable. Again, low effort. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make this video where we do Let's Go Brandon. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's gonna get him. How are you getting anyone? How are you making the country better by doing that? Well, you're not. And that's the thing. For the right wing, there is no policy. There's no aim that they're discussing. There's no way to make this country better for working people that they talk about. No, it's nonstop culture war. It's this desperate need, this desire to own the libs. That's all it is. That's all there is to be. That's all there is to being a right winger these days. Again, what policy are you going to talk about? What does the policy of the Republican Party stand for now? Making the rich richer. That's it. Corporate tax cuts, deregulation, and culture war nonsense. That's all that happens. That's all you do. That's all they do. It is a hatred of the left and a hatred of any sort of change or societal advancement, and also being used as a distraction so that the billionaires, the actual elitists here, which are overwhelmingly right-wing, continue to rob us all. But hey, I guess keep enjoying your troll job, everybody. Good work. You got 10,000 views off your shitty video. Congratulations. But you didn't do anything better. And that's the worst thing, is that after a while, nobody's going to remember you. Nobody's going to remember anything that you did, because you made absolutely no difference in this country whatsoever. None at all. So, good job. Nailed it. Speaking of culture war, nonsense. We're going to go to Ben Shapiro. Absolutely Ben Shapiro. Oh, look, I have somebody on Facebook that's not a fan. Awesome. Oh, what a joke. You really believe the bullshit you speak. You liberals are just disgusting. Never tell the truth. Always lie. You don't care who it hurts or how bad this country suffers. You want to talk about right-wingers, dude? You need to look at your own party bullshit that comes out of your mouth. Is ridiculous. Again, this is from somebody who's a low-effort troll who doesn't ever watch. For one, I criticize the Democratic Party all the time because they don't represent me at all. I'm a progressive, I'm a leftist, and the Democratic Party is trash. Absolute trash. And so, yeah, they're not at all progressive, they're corporate. They're the corporate elite. And so, yeah, if you want to talk about that, that's great. I will also make fun of the Democratic Party for always, and the worst thing too, is that you've got the idiots on the right wing who have no substance or anything like that, and yet the Democrats always seem to roll over for them. That's sad. That's incredibly sad. And so, no, that party does not represent me, because guess what? I don't like losers. And that's what the current Democratic Party is. Full of a bunch of losers. And I'm not talking about the voters here. I'm talking about the politicians. Nothing but absolute losers on purpose, because guess what? They get paid to lose to insane right-wingers all the time. So, yeah, I got a problem with that. So, yeah, Democratic Party. But of course, I never talk about the problems with the Democratic Party. In fact, I'm actually going to talk about how Joe Manchin is an example of Democratic weakness in Joe Biden, and how Joe Manchin has just rolled right over Biden in getting domestic policy, or stopping any sort of domestic policy. Okay. Anyway, well, let's go on to, again, ridiculous trolls. Ben Shapiro is back to doing what he believes he does best, debating college kids and destroying them with facts and logic.
I'm a mathematician and a physicist here, a double major, and I also just won the most prestigious award in the country to pursue research at any institution I want, the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship. So I think I'm pretty, qualified to say that most of what you're saying is based on like old data. But my question to you, and so I want you all to like realize that.
last month, but sure.
For example, gender identity disorder, that's the DSM-4, bro. We use the DSM-5 now for psychologists to be able to talk about...
I literally cited the DSM-5 in the speech, and it's called gender dysphoria, which is
I
the term that I use throughout the speech, not gender identity disorder.
You sound like a bozo, bro. And you get no pussy, and you can't even make your wife wet, bro, so what's good?
So, let me just say, the nice thing about having several small children is I don't feel the necessity to have my masculinity
challenged. If we're using a
by
Western
like you.
colonial idea of gender, then why should it apply? If we're using, because the gender binary is a Western colonialist framework of gender.
You're right. Men and women don't exist in any other culture.
No.
You're
Think
right.
about Native American.
Nailed it.
Third gender people. I'm not saying that. Third gender people exist in Native American societies, Western African societies, like Southern Native American societies, like Mexico. So in other places that are not white dominated,
And they
like
are
the United States or
incorrect.
Europe, and so you're
I'm
saying
saying
white,
they're biologically
so non-white
incorrect.
people. I'm a mathematician and a physicist. You cannot tell me.
So I have a question.
And also, you're not a biologist.
So I have a question.
I'm 20.
As a mathematician and a physicist, what in the hell do you know about human biology?
And you got
that
your
allows
law
you to
degree from
deny us?
Harvard. What do you know about biology?
Okay, then. So I didn't really see all that much destruction with facts and logic. Okay. So here's the thing. That was actually fun to watch because I love when people bring up the DAP, the dry ass P word. That, of course, is a reference to Ben Shapiro being very, very confused at what a wet ass P word is. He just did not understand the entire, it couldn't wrap his head around the idea of a wet vagina. Okay, female anatomy. Couldn't understand it. Couldn't get it. Very, very difficult concept, Ben. I know. So now, here's the thing. Obviously, everybody's very, very upset at this kid for doing what he did. That's not considered debate. He lost that debate. It's not. What debate? He's a college kid. He's not a debater. Ben Shapiro literally does this for a living. And by the way, not just goes to college, and challenges rando college kids to debates, which apparently it's very, very easy to so-called be a rando college kid at a debate. He does all these talking points for a living. And so, by the way, let me figure out how to phrase this, right? So now, none of this has anything to do with whether or not Ben Shapiro is correct. Spoiler alert, he's incorrect. He's not right. What this has to do is what they consider to be debate. Okay? So now, there's debate tactics, there's debate skill, etc. Ben Shapiro knows all those tricks. He knows the debate style. He knows the debate tricks. He knows the Gish Gallops and, structures his debate tactics and debate style in speaking very, very fast. And so he knows all those rules. College kids don't know how to debate. And so what happens is that Ben Shapiro goes in here with his particular style, right? And it basically frustrates regular people because it's like, dude, first of all, you're speaking really fast. You're throwing a bunch of nonsense at me. And so I'm going to get frustrated and basically call you out on your dry ass P word. So now that's the thing. If you use ad hominems, which this kid did, right? In the debate world, that is considered to be the last resort of somebody who's losing. Now, that whole exchange really illustrates why Ben Shapiro is relevant in the first place. See, he has figured out the secret sauce. of being a so-called right-wing debate leader, right? And I say so-called because it in the grand scheme of things, none of this matters at all. But okay, let's break it down. So let's start by pointing out two things. The right only cares about two different things: the culture war and owning the libs. Ben Shapiro did the one thing that is guaranteed to get him an audience, which is to debate people who don't know debate rules, who don't know debate tactics, and who cannot counter those tactics. And so he also speaks with just a high degree of confidence that people who are the uninitiated will listen to him and be like, oh, that must be right. Well, obviously, he's speaking with very, very much confidence, and he's speaking very fast. Obviously, he must be correct. And then when people get frustrated with arguing with somebody who's essentially a brick wall, Ben clips them out, or people on the right clip them out, and spread it around to their debate bro circles and claim that, oh, look, Ben Shapiro destroyed a kid with facts and logic in a debate. And so they surmise from that the left cannot identify, or I'm sorry, they cannot defend their ideas. And so that's it. Now, obviously, the left can defend its ideas. And so when you actually go up against a skilled debater, when Ben Shapiro goes against a skilled debater, he gets shredded because he has no ideas. And so let me give you an example here. There's a debate with Anna Kasparian. Now, he kept trying to bring it back to the culture war issues, right? Anna kept trying to put the conversation on substantive issues like climate, employment, jobs, things like that, working conditions. So now, when you bring up substantive issues, Ben Shapiro can't use his usual tricks. The right-wing position is the fact that they don't have substance. It just doesn't exist. Their policies overwhelmingly support wealthy people and corporations, the very elites that they claim to be against. And what they're doing is they constantly contradict their own alleged beliefs. We're very, very pro-life. We should stop killing babies. Again, that's an emotional appeal, right? Because everybody loves babies and wants to protect children, right? And again, that goes to what they're currently doing now is pedo-jacketing everybody. So, oh, you're a pedophile, you're a predator, you kill babies, you hate children. Look at this person, he hates children. Or look at this predator online. Don't you hate this person? Any real person would hate a predator because they go after children. It's all emotion-based. It's all emotions. And they all talk about how facts don't care about your feelings. They do a lot of feelings, and they rely on a lot of feelings. There's so many feelings going on. But we're pro-healthcare, or we're pro-life, we're pro all that stuff, but we don't actually support universal healthcare. Tens of thousands of people die every year because they don't have healthcare. They just don't. Why don't we actually, get people healthcare? Nope, can't do that. Nope. You got to work for that. Hey, we're very pro-working class. So, oh, really? What are you doing for the working class? We're cutting taxes for corporations. Which does what? It just makes corporations and rich people richer. Again, they're against unions, they're against higher wages. They're also against welfare programs, except from when that welfare goes to the rich. They love corporate welfare, and generally there are some organizations, conservative organizations like Cato Institute, that have pointed out, oh, we give a lot of corporate welfare. But when it comes to the context of fossil fuels, oil and gas, and corporations they agree with, generally they don't tend to bring that up. They only bring it up in the context of what corporation bad now. That's what it is. And by the way, corporate welfare overshadows all other types of welfare. But we're pro-family. We're pro-family, except we're going to break up families with transgender kids. We're going to have, in Texas, investigators come to your house because you might actually be treating your transgender child well. You might actually be a good parent. We can't have that because we don't agree with that. We're going to break up families. We're going to not allow gay parents to adopt, even though we have an adoption crisis where there are, kids out there looking for good homes, good families, and gay people wanting to adopt a child. Nope, can't have that. Nope. We're very, very pro-family. Just only if they meet the strict definition of what we consider to be a family. We're pro-motherhood, except that we're not going to have any sort of paid leave for mothers. We're going to basically rip the baby out of your arms and send you back to the mines. Send you right back to work. That's what we're going to do. No paid leave, no vacation, nothing like that. Get back to work. Work your ass off. And by the way, we're not going to pay you enough to where a parent can actually stay home with their child. Can't do that either. But we're so very pro-family. They contradict themselves in every case, every single case. They don't even believe in freedom, not actual freedom. And by the way, they constantly strawman the left when it comes to many, many issues. One example is abortion. Oh, you know what the left wants? They want abortion on demand. All the way up to the moment of birth. No, not at all true. I've explained that many times before, how that is just simply inaccurate. All of their arguments are very simple, though. They're nuance-free, they're easily digestible, and they are based on simple emotional responses. Anger being one of them. Fear and disgust, huge emotions that they peddle on the right wing. They don't like trans people because they're disgusted by them. Or maybe, alternatively, they fear that they might be attracted to a transgender person and then ostracized by their communities or from their communities. That's it. They're afraid and they're disgusted by them. And so they want to deny them human rights. Trans people don't harm anyone. There was no ownage here, okay? Look, what I saw was somebody who is supposedly a skilled debater just trying to get some cheap video content for himself and his channel. That's really all it is. And look, no real winner here in actually engaging with Ben Shapiro's bad faith discussions. Really, there really is no winner, okay? Now, maybe this kid knew that and was like, you know what, I'm going to have my own viral moment off Ben Shapiro. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. But I do agree that Ben Shapiro, absolute bozo, he cannot debate real issues with real skilled people. So he's going to try to pick on college kids. It's just gross. It's so gross. That doesn't prove that Ben Shapiro was smart or right. And so I think the best way to deal with Ben Shapiro is to not engage with him unless you have these debate skills. Otherwise, and if you're not familiar with the debate tactics that he will use, and you're ready to counter those tactics to really embarrass him. If you're not prepared for that, then I would suggest staying away, because at the end of the day, I think you only help him with his own crowd. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I'd rather not do anything to help him. Put him up against a real debater. Then we'll see who owns who. Okay. Moving on, let's go to Republican stunts. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott's plan to drop busloads of migrants off in other states has culminated in them actually dropping people off in front of Fox News headquarters, right on their doorstep. Interesting. Now, this is according to photos posted on Twitter. A charter bus full of migrants had arrived earlier at Fox News headquarters, where photographers were waiting outside. Just moments later, coincidentally, as if there's a coincidence, Fox News had a story posted about all these migrants that are flooding into Washington. Oh, no. No coincidence. Now, look, this is a stunt, okay, tailored specifically for midterms. That's what it is. I mean, if you look at the details of the order here from Greg Abbott, now remember, these were charter buses. They went out and they said, well, if you're a migrant and you want to go and you want to get a free bus trip somewhere else, well, then, we'll do that. We'll pay for it. We'll give you a bus ticket and everything. Just go. Now, they told people that were riding on them, just let us know. We'll drop you off wherever you want, as long as it's not in Texas. Now, who would want to turn down a free bus ride if you're a migrant, especially? Right? Well, it turns out this came with conditions that they didn't know of, because now these migrants got to be used as propaganda for Fox News. Fox's report said the bus dropped them off blocks from the U.S. Capitol, but neglected to mention that it was directly in front of their building. So, obviously right there for the cameras, and they will use that footage, of course, to scare old xenophobic white people in their programming. That's it. In fact, Aaron Reichlin-Melnick, Senior Policy Counsel at the American Immigration Council, basically alleged that it was a stunt and that was coordinated closely with Fox News, which immediately had an article up that day. Now, again, they were waiting for it. They had the cameras. They were waiting to hit publish on that article as soon as that busload showed up. Some of the people reported that, hey, look, I thought we were going to Florida. They said they were going to take us to Florida, and they dropped us off in Washington, right in front of Fox News. So these people who are powerless were used for propaganda purposes against other migrants, of course. Now that's super, super gross. Again, these are human beings. Remember, this gets lost. These are human beings. These are people that were struggling to get a better life, that were trying to come to the United States, perhaps to avoid war, poverty, stay with family. But no, Fox News decides to take them with the direction of Greg Abbott to use them for a simple propaganda film. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's a sick mindset. But you know what? At the end of the day, Greg Abbott, he's going to sit there, he's going to watch, he's going to see this news coverage on Fox News about this and think, nailed it. Money well spent, everybody. Money well spent. Gross. They were lied to by the GOP. Here's my shocked face. Yeah, no, true. It's just so, they're just so casual about it too, with how disgusting they are. How much they lie. Again, telling the people, no, we'll take you anywhere you want, and then we're going to drop you off, dump you off right in front of reporters at Fox News headquarters, and in front of CNN as well. They're all, as far as I can understand, they were all in kind of the same area, the same building complex or whatever. Yeah, it's gross. Absolutely gross. All right, let's move on. All right. Senator Joe Manchin has come out swinging against Joe Biden. Now, yeah, I know this is going to come as a shock to you that Joe Manchin from the coal baron from West Virginia is going to come out against President Biden. So now, in a statement, the West Virginia coal baron attacked Joe Biden over inflation, which has hit a staggering 8.5%, So look, inflation is real. It is happening, and it sucks. It is hurting American families all over the country. And yet, here's what he writes. Hard-earned wages and financial savings are disappearing faster every month as prices continue to climb. While the pain and frustration of spending more on everyday items lingers over us all, especially among those who can afford it the least. When will this end? It is a disservice to the American people to act as inflation is a new phenomenon. The Federal Reserve and the administration failed to act fast enough, and today's data is a snapshot in time. The consequences being felt across the country. Consequences, by the way, that you haven't really personally had to. Yeah. Oh yes. By the way, I'm not saying that Joe Manchin hasn't had to pay more for things like everyone else. Well, of course. The difference is Joe Manchin is incredibly wealthy, so it doesn't impact him as much. So I love the fact already that he's like, I feel your pain. I am with you from my houseboat. Now, he continues. Instead of acting boldly, our elected leaders and the Federal Reserve continue to respond with half measures and rhetorical failures, searching for where to lay the blame. The American people deserve the truth about why record inflation is happening and what must be done to control it. Yeah, oh, yes, the American people do deserve the truth, Joe. Sure. And what is the truth? Why is there so much inflation in this country? Now, is it because there's an issue with the supply chain due to the pandemic? Yes. Oh, yes, of course. That's definitely a contributing factor. Is there an uptick in demand for certain things like cars, computers, and things that require certain computer chips that were impacted by lockdowns and global trade slowdowns? Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of blame that can be handed down to different figures in the economy, and of course, different things. Again, supply chain issues are a real issue, right? And look, despite an increase of the cost of manufacture certain items due to scarcity, corporations not only pass down the increased costs in the supply chain, but then, and this is where I think one of the reasons why inflation is so high, not the cause of inflation, but why it just happened to reach such a gigantic level. These companies decided, yes, even though we have to pay more for supplies to build things, we're going to add something on top. We're going to increase our prices even more because we could. Now, here's some headlines. I'm going to read some of them. Oil giant BP reports highest profit in 8 years on some soaring commodity prices. Interesting. Reuters, cereal maker Kellogg forecasts full-year profit growth above market expectations on Thursday, riding on higher product prices that helped overcome labor strike disruptions and soaring input costs in the fourth quarter. From the New York Times, Procter & Gamble sales jump as consumers rush off rising prices. From the Ticker, McDonald's to raise prices despite record revenue. From Yahoo Finance, Amazon stock soars after 15% after earnings will hike Prime membership fee. So there's an example here. It's almost as if, I don't know, greed happens to be the bigger driver of the large inflation numbers. Again, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be inflation if corporations weren't price gouging. It's just that inflation has gotten worse as a result of the corporate greed. Now, again, I don't think inflation would be to this degree without that price gouging. It might be 2% or 3%, which is still high, but not 8% or 8.5%. So I think it's important to point out is that these companies have taken an already bad economic situation and have decided in the name of profit to make it worse for the average person. And look, let me go to some of the people talking about this. Former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner. Here's what she said. By the way, she's running again, and unfortunately, the so-called progressive Congress, the so-called progressive caucus has decided to endorse her opponent, Shontel Brown. Progressive caucus. Yeah. But here's what she said about this. All right. Exxon and other big corporations are price gouging us at the gas pump. Grocery chains are making record profits, price gouging us at the register. Corporations are bleeding working people dry. Enough. It's not inflation, it's price gouging. Now that's Nina Turner. She's running for office, right? But let's go to an actual economics professor. Isabella Weber. She's a professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Here's what she told NPR back in February. Quote, as a matter of fact, what we have seen is that profits are skyrocketing, which means that companies have increased prices by more than just cost. In which the earnings in the earnings reports, companies have bragged about how they have managed to be ahead of the inflation curve, how they have managed to jack up prices more than their costs, and as a result, have delivered these record profits. So that's what's driving inflation to record highs. It's corporate greed. It's corporate greed. Now, what is and yet here's Manchin. He continues, quote, here's the truth. We cannot spend our way to a balanced, healthy economy and continue adding to our $30 trillion of national debt. Getting inflation under control will require more aggressive action by a Federal Reserve that waited too long to act. It demands the administration and Congress, Democrats and Republicans alike, support an all-of-the-above energy policy, because that is the only way to bring down the high price of gas and energy while attacking climate change. Oh, so that's his idea. It's going to need an aggressive action by investing in more coal and oil. Really? Now, if you're not familiar, Joe Manchin is invested in coal companies. In fact, he makes over $500,000 a year from investments in one company, EnerSystems, that he founded back in 1998, and now his son controls that company. But he has stock in it. And that's just his personal income. His campaigns get funded by companies like ExxonMobil, whose lobbyists gave him $65,000 in legal bribes the last cycle alone. Now, what does that money buy? Well, it buys people like Manchin, obviously. In fact, Keith McCoy, Exxon's senior director of federal relations, basically bragged about how he owns Joe Manchin. He bragged in a leaked video recording that he talked to Manchin's office every week. He is the kingmaker, and he's not shy about staking his claim early and completely changing the debate. So, by the way, what all these companies and rich people, what do they care about? Well, they're the ones that care about the national debt. They're the ones that care about austerity, that want austerity. Average working people, we don't care at all about the deficit or the debt. No, what matters to us is, can we afford food? Can we make the rent? Can we pay our mortgages? Can we actually get a loan to get a mortgage? Can we do these things? Can we take care of our kids? You know, can we afford college? Can we afford our student loans? All of these things. And yet, what are we talking about? We're talking about austerity. Because Joe Manchin wants to talk about austerity. Now, austerity never works. You can't cut yourself to prosperity as well. I mean, you can't you don't extend your life by slashing your wrist, okay? No, that doesn't help you. You're going to bleed out. And that's what they do with austerity. They make the American people, the average person, bleeds out. And then, of course, and we saw this back in 2008, by the way, when there was a financial crash, a financial bubble that burst, driven by Wall Street, once again by corporate greed, right? Millions of Americans suffered as a result of that. They lost value in their homes. Many lost their homes. And then who came in to buy them up? Investors. They bought up these homes and they turned them into rentals. That's what happened. And so this is what we're doing. And again, that's how they make money as well. By shifting money from average people to corporations. Look, the government's not a business. It has a role in providing services the private market can't make money on, and either shouldn't make money on or really can't. The post office, for example. But you also have education. You have health insurance, food, energy. Those are things that private markets shouldn't be in charge of, shouldn't control. That's stuff we depend on, not only for survival, but also as a functional country, to make sure everybody's fed and educated and housed. And we do not have a functional country now. It is run by corporations. We are living under corporate rule. Now, one more thing here, and this is about Joe Biden's weakness. Look, Joe Manchin is somebody who has knifed Democrats in the back more times than we can count. The latest thing, the child tax credit. Now, Joe Manchin, along with killing Build Back Better, killed the tax credit as well. He let it expire going into the midterms. And as a result, the Democrats, guess what? They're in a world of hurt. Let me give you a recent Morning Consult poll. Among parents or guardians with at least one child under 18 in the household who receive the expanded child tax credit payments, thanks to Democrats, 46% said that they are most likely to vote for a Republican congressional candidate this year, while 43% said that they're inclined to back Democrats. You know how much Democrats were leading before the benefit had expired? In December, Democrats led by 12% in a similar poll. That was before the benefit expired, and continues to be a trend captured in a survey conducted in February. Over 7 to 10 child tax credit recipients, 72%, said that the expiration of the extended payments had at least a minor impact on financial security. The majority of these voters, 55%, by the way, disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy. Now, why is that? It's because Biden promised to do a bunch of things and didn't do them. $2,000 checks didn't happen. That was a promise, an explicit promise by Georgia Democrats. Hey, if you elect us, Biden's going to get those $2,000 checks out the door immediately. And what happened? Not that. What about student loan debt cancellation? Nope. And as I've explained, he's not going to cancel student loan debt. Not a majority of it. Not, maybe a tiny fraction at most. But I'm also doubtful on that. But he'll never cancel student loans completely. Wall Street would be pissed because they have a lot of money in student loan asset-backed securities, which are a very safe bet on Wall Street to make money, leveraging your debt to make money off of it. Then, a public option obviously didn't happen. Stop talking about it right after the election. COVID funding, gone. Just lapsed. And by the way, COVID funding to other countries as well, to help them get vaccinated so we don't have new and weird variants coming out of Africa or Asia or Europe or anywhere else. And of course, Build Back Better, as I mentioned. Just ridiculous, right? Obviously, some people, when you bring that up, it's enraging because it didn't happen. It was just killed. What little there was, dead. And again, Joe Manchin. You can't blame Republicans for that. No, this was Joe Manchin. And by the way, yes, every Republican was against that. But we expect that. The person who killed it ultimately, though, was not a Republican. It was Joe Manchin. And by the way, Kyrsten Sinema as well. And people think, oh, wait, the stuff that I liked that was in this bill, like the extension of the child tax credit, and some other things that would have helped us, like paid leave, well, it wasn't Republicans that killed it. Oh, it was the Democrats. It was the Democrats, Joe Manchin, it was Kyrsten Sinema. And so I guess I'll vote for Republicans. Now, the most galling thing about this, though, when it comes to Biden, is that now after being absolutely humiliated by Joe Manchin, the White House decides, we're just not going to talk about Joe Manchin. We're not going to talk about him, and we're going to try to kiss his ass as much as possible. One person familiar with the party dynamics said of senior Democrats' attitudes in supposed new negotiations for Build Back Better, which aren't going to go anywhere, said, quote, this is really up to Joe. It's basically going to be the Manchin reconciliation bill when all is said and done. And that's it. According to Politico, officials have shied away from detailing what specific policies on climate, health coverage, or child care they would envision in being part of any future legislation. So here we are. We're coming up on a midterm. And Democrats are like, we're not even going to talk about what we're going to do. Because Joe Manchin is just going to destroy it. How weak is that? Wait, hey, we want to do stuff. We just can't tell you what that stuff is. Because we might get Joe Manchin mad. And this is happening while Joe Manchin is out there rubbing it in Biden's face every single day. And this is the modern Democratic Party. What a disaster. All right. Well, that's it. Sorry to leave you off on such a depressing note today. Before we go, I want to read if we have any super chats. We'll see if we have any. Hey, Biden, Manchin's giving you the tea bag. Joke's on you. Biden loves that tea. He's got to want these policies, and I don't think he does. Just don't think he does. Does it surprise you at all? Shouldn't. Shouldn't. Okay. Oh my goodness. Go to super chats here. All right. Straw Carpenter. Only the best. Thanks, Jeff. Well, thank you, Straw Carpenter. Appreciate that. Gabby Mathis says, forget about Manchin and Sinema. The corporation set the prices. Has nothing to do with Biden. Yeah, and that is the other thing, too. Joe Biden has absolutely nothing to do with the inflation. As far as that goes, he can't control it. The president doesn't control inflation. Can they set certain policies? Can they do things unilaterally through executive actions to alleviate some of this stuff? Yes. And I've mentioned some of those steps before. For example, on gas prices, he could just stop ExxonMobil and all these oil companies from exporting additional oil to other countries. There's that. Again, canceling student loan debt, unilaterally do. That would actually help millions of Americans because it would take that debt burden off them. Because think about it, yes, we have increased prices, we have inflation, and yet, if you still have Americans. Yes, right now you have student loan debt that has been paused. That has been continued to get kicked down the road. And so make a big point bragging, oh yeah, well we've made it so that you didn't have to make your student loan payments for 2 years, even though it will resume at some point, but we're going to keep kicking it down the road, until we can have them start paying this back. Well, no, why don't you just cancel it? No, you should cancel it. And then instead of making people like, well, I'm going to have to take that on one of these days. I'm going to have to take it on soon. And so there's that sort of Damocles that is still going to be hovered over our heads. But I mean, at least I don't have to pay it now. Well, that's not going to help in the long run. In the long run, it is still going to have a gigantic impact because that debt is not going away. So, but anyway, you're right though. You're right about that. Sorry to go off on a tangent. I have a tendency to do that though. All right, Tempedan 918, thank you for gifting a tier month sub to Wanderer 42. All right. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everybody. I really, really appreciate all the super chats, all the donations, things like that, and of course your support. Really, really appreciate it. Like and share the stream if you haven't already. Go and like and share the videos as much as you can, and I really, really appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thank you. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later. Have a great night.
Big, massive dump.
Wet ass keyword.
I have not loved this conversation.
There's some whores in this house.
Sexual anarchy.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.